Hi, I'm here with Ashley Watts. Ashley is the president and CEO of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, the state's largest business association. Ashley joined the chamber in 2012, and during her tenure, she has led efforts in passing significant legislation. Ashley lives in Frankfort, Kentucky with her husband and two children. She and I have worked together, and she's become a very close friend of mine. Welcome, Ashley.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful to see you here today. Have you been taking care of yourself?
Well, it's been interesting. As you know, I am an extrovert's extrovert. I love being around people and running the chamber. That's pretty much what we're in the business of doing, is being out and about and meeting with various chambers across the state and business community. And so this has been a really kind of different phase for me, and kind of a difference. I've struggled a little bit more with it than I thought, just because I love being around people. But I do think through like what we're doing right now, Zoom, the technology has helped kind of keep in touch. And so I think that's been good, of that we've been able to use technology to really get us through this. But it's been an unusual time. You can probably see I'm in my living room, and I have a 4 and a 7-year-old, and I'm also trying to homeschool them at the same time as working full time. And so that has proven difficult. And I have used the phrase, I'm doing the best I can, probably one too many times, but we're all getting through, and hopefully we'll see the other side of this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I hope so too. We've been stocking up a lot of things here in our home. And what have you been stocking up on that hasn't been toilet paper? What's been a surprise thing that you've been stocking up on?
So my husband, he's been pretty prepared, and he's a big Sam's shopper. So we had the toilet paper and the Lysol wipes and all of that. So the one thing that I've kind of, I don't know if it's been stocking up on, but I've been buying more of, is that I don't know if I've ever spent this much time in my house. So for my job, I'm out on the road quite a bit. I travel all the time. And so now that I'm kind of stuck in my house and these four walls, I realize there's more I want to do with it. And so I've spent quite a bit of time and money on Wayfair lately, getting some home decorating things. So it's kind of been nice, and been able to spruce up my house a little bit, because I'm kind of been stuck here. So that's what we've been doing, is I've gotten a new bed and some new dining room chairs, and just kind of giving the house a little bit of a facelift.
That sounds like something fun during this time.
Yeah, a little project.
And on the business side, how are you leading through the coronavirus crisis?
So the chamber, is the leading business association in the state. And when all this happened about 5 weeks ago, we kind of had this aha moment that this was really a chance for us to help all businesses across Kentucky in whatever means that we could. And so we started really doing a lot of questions and answers. We got thousands of emails and calls from businesses all across the state saying, do I have to close? Do I not have to close? How do I get unemployment insurance? How do I get these small business loans? Just really trying to be a resource for them. And so the past month, that's what we've really done. We have a staff of about 40, and we are very fortunate that most of us can work remotely and work from home and stay safe, and still be able to correspond with the business community. So we've recently just unveiled a new initiative called Restart Kentucky, basically just saying, how are we going to methodically and safely get the economy back up and running? And so we have started hosting 2 webinars a week from industry leaders from across Kentucky. Tomorrow, we're kicking it off with public health officials. We have on Thursday a state economist that's pretty well known in Kentucky, that's going to give kind of the overview of Kentucky's economy and how we can bounce back from this. And then we have some scheduled with education leaders, our commissioner of education. We have one scheduled with hospitals who are kind of on the front line. So really just kind of providing a resource however we can. We've also started a task force just recently with someone from each industry in the state, kind of putting the best and the brightest across Kentucky, putting their heads together and say, how do we safely and methodically restart our economy? What does this look like? What practices are we going to take in our businesses to ensure workplace safety? So really the last month has been a shift in kind of our mission at the chamber, but we really have focused all efforts around coronavirus and however we can help businesses in the best way possible and get them back up and running safely and hopefully methodically and sooner rather than later.
That's so impressive. You're doing wonderful work down there. What we rely on a lot of skills, and if you just think about a soft skill that you've been doing that you've really leaned on during this critical time, what would you say that would be?
I would say one soft skill is communication. I just took over for the chamber, as you know, back in November. So I haven't been the leader of the chamber very long. And I think having to effectively communicate in this new world that we're living and making sure that staff is still connected to me and vice versa is a little different. But luckily, through technology, we've been able to do that. I've tried to be as accessible as possible, but really kind of having that open communication. One other skill I think that's important for anyone really in leadership right now is empathy. We are dealing with something that we have never dealt with before, and people are reacting very differently. Some are just turning away and they're working as hard as they can from home. Others may be struggling with, like I said, homeschooling several children at home, or taking care of an elderly parent, or whatever that could be. Our whole world has really been dumped upside down. And so as a leader, I think it's been pretty important for me to try to have as much empathy as I can, and understanding that this is a totally different environment from where we were 5 weeks ago. And things are going to look different and people are going to react differently, and trying to just put myself in everyone's position and helping them get through these weeks.
You mentioned a couple of soft skills. On the flip side, business acumen skills. If we're thinking about that, what business acumen skills are most important to you right now during the coronavirus crisis?
Right now, I think it's really, for me running the chamber, is really looking at kind of our outlook and projection of numbers. And I think any businesses obviously like to see kind of their numbers at the end of the day. And so right now, the economy is so uncertain. We do know it's taken a very sharp, deep dive. We don't know how quickly we will come back from that, or if it'll be more of kind of a pause for a while before we slowly start to recover. And so I think any business leader, anyone running any kind of business, is really looking at expenses right now and costs, and how we can trim back in a responsible way. For me, we run the Chamber of Commerce, and we run on because businesses pay us membership dues. And so I want to be a good steward of our membership dues and make sure that we're doing the best that we can with what we have. So I think one of those hard skills I'm looking really at right now is budgeting and projections right now of how we can finish the year.
Thank you. That's very important to focus on that. You're a young leader. So if you could look ahead and be 75 years old, what would the 75-year-old Ashli Watts tell you to do now to navigate through the coronavirus crisis?
Yeah, it's been an interesting thing to think about because I've only been in this role for about 5 months. And so it has been kind of a shock, but I've also said I almost think it's nice to have a challenge like this out of the gate, because it's kind of sink or swim. And so hopefully I've been able to effectively lead my team through all this, and also lead the businesses of Kentucky and provide the best resources that we can to them to help them come out on the other side. And so even though at first I may have panicked a little bit and said, oh my gosh, I've only been doing this job for 5 months and here I am, most businesses in Kentucky are closed. I do think it's been an important lesson for me just to really kind of get in there and show my leadership skills and leadership ability. And hopefully as a young leader, a lot of times you have to prove yourself a little bit. And so hopefully this will kind of be a test for me that I can prove myself as an effective leader moving forward.
How do you think the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce will be different post-pandemic?
That's a great question. And I've been reading and hearing a lot about this. And one thing that I would say, just from my personal perspective, is just logistically, I have never been a great person to work from home. I like kind of the office structure. I like visiting with my coworkers. I like that office dynamic of having group meetings. But I have never been a huge proponent of working from home because I didn't think that probably I could effectively work from home as well as in an office setting. However, in the past 5 weeks, almost all of our staff has worked from home exclusively, and they have probably been more productive than I have ever seen. And so I would count myself in this. I have been working quite a bit, and I've kind of figured out how to do that, even with children running around and doing their schoolwork. And so I do think for me, the chamber looks different in the sense of work-life balance or work-life integration, that people can be very productive working from home and maybe even more so. And so where we were kind of talking about everyone working from the office and potentially expanding our building to kind of hold all of the employees we have, I do think we're all going to kind of take a step back and see if maybe in the days of employee benefits, we can look at letting some people work from home a couple days a week, because I think it has been proven that that can very effectively work for our work setting.
That sounds great. What's giving you hope right now? What's giving you hope right now?
I think what's giving me hope right now is everyone really working together. And so running a business association where business is being shut down is obviously kind of a difficult balance. But I told many people that over the last 5 weeks, we have corresponded with thousands of business leaders across Kentucky. And a lot have asked questions about small business loans or about getting the protective equipment, the masks, etc. But every single one, before we stop talking to them, whether it's on the phone or email, always say, what can I do to help? Every single one. No one has really, complained that I can't believe I'm shut down. I can't believe we're doing this. Every single one, I think, has kind of been part of this mission to make sure that we keep Kentuckians as safe as possible, and have said, what can we do to help? And they've donated their time, they've donated money, they have donated their masks and equipment that they're not using right now, really for the greater good. And so I think that gives me hope, is that we're kind of all in this together, and that we're going to get through this together, and everyone has really pitched in whatever way they can. I think it also gives me hope sometimes that, before all this, we were all very much connected to devices. I don't ever leave very far away from my phone or from my laptop, but I think this has made us realize how important human connection is, and that really is essential to everything that we do. So as nice as it is to be able to talk to you via a Zoom or a Skype or call you on the phone, there's nothing that really makes up and replaces that true human interaction. So I do hope that people will be a little bit more cognizant and appreciative of when we're able to all be together again, to really be in the moment and not be so distracted.
What outstanding advice. And I have to tell you, Ashley, I can't wait to see you in person in Frankfurt again as well. I make that drive down in my car that's named Barbaro. So I can't wait to come down to Kentucky and see you and your associates as well. You've given us so many words of wisdom today. Do you have anything else that you want to share with us?
I just think this is really important to kind of highlight all of the leadership techniques, especially from a women's perspective. Like I said, we've never been through any of this before. And women, no matter what phase of life you're in, it's difficult. For me, I'm juggling homeschooling 2 kids, trying to work full time, as well as being a new leader. So I think the more open dialogue that we can have, and the more best practices and just kind of sharing each other's stories, I think all of us will make us a little stronger on the other side of this.
Oh, Ashley, thank you so much. On behalf of Xavier University and myself, Chrissy Barr, I really appreciate you joining us today, giving us your insights, and leading the state of Kentucky and all the businesses in the state of Kentucky through the coronavirus crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.